Jonathan, I'll let you introduce yourself a little more.
Thanks, Haley. Super pumped to be here tonight. I really appreciate you all bringing me in and giving me a chance to share some of the insights that I've had from running these companies. And yeah, I can't wait to dig in.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your background.
So I'm the founder CEO at Via Fitness, which is an app that rewards you for working out with monetary incentives. That is how I really got got my feet wet in the entrepreneurship world. I started the app from scratch when I was still working in corporate, and then I quit my day job. I was doing marketing strategy consulting for a big company. And since then, I have been running that company. We have 9 people on the team now, and it has been doing great lately. We're really excited about that. But the bulk of my work is actually now with K&J Growth Hackers, where we are doing growth hacking services for businesses, personal brands, and tech companies. And when I say growth hacking, that's really on the marketing side of growth hacking. We'll go a little bit more into what we offer as a service set and then like what the term growth hacking actually encompasses. But we've had some good case studies so far with my partner Cale Pinojo, who I believe is in on this call as well, and he may chime in at some point. But he helped grow his gym from $200 marketing budget to $200,000 in annual revenue, which is one of our favorite case studies with K&J. But we have some other good ones, some good success stories from working with the University of Delaware, beating their marketing goal by 189%, getting over 850 people to sign up for their Diamond Challenge, and everything from that to doing like Instagram growth, Twitter growth, and even PPC like Google AdWords, getting $30,000 in returns for clients who are spending $3,000 a month. So it really runs the gamut, but the bottom line is that we're very crafty, scrappy, creative marketers at the core of it.
Awesome. So why don't we get started with what exactly growth hacking means, or how you can put it in your own terms? Like, what do you say to your grandma when she asks you what growth hacking is?
Let's talk about something else, Grandma.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. Like, to put it in like a context of someone who may have never heard that term before.
Sure. So the way I like to describe it is growth hacking is getting 10x results, not 10% results, right? Growing your business 10x instead of 10%. And the way that we do that is through really crafty, scalable methods. Anything from like, say, scraping the web for a bunch of email addresses to automating activities on social media and growing audiences very quickly. But growth hacking in itself, the way we look at it from K&J Growth Hackers, is it can be anything that combines multiple aspects of the business to perpetuate growth in the company. So oftentimes, most of the time, it's the intersection between product and marketing and how those fit together. On K&J Growth Hackers, we mostly handle the marketing side, but you can factor in products. So an example of that might be the way that Uber does the share with a friend feature, where you get $20 and your friend gets $20. That's a growth hack so that people spread the product on their own, so that Uber doesn't have to buy billboards and buy a bunch of advertising. Instead, people are sharing it virally on their own. Or Dropbox giving you an extra gigabyte of space as well as your friend who you invite. So those are product integrations. But on the marketing side, growth hacking can be addressed to any different type of marketing strategy and tactic. Some of the more common strategies are like contests, viral competitions, automating social media, scraping the web for email addresses, and doing like a large capture of your target audience. And I mean, the philosophy can really be applied to any marketing strategy, though. So the ones that we most oftenly do, I would say a lot of influencer marketing, community building, automation, like turning functions that would normally be manual functions from the marketing team into automated ones, so that people don't have to actually like do that labor-intensive work. And we also do things like we'll put together like an integrated marketing campaign. And part of growth hacking is that you use operations, finance, and marketing and product all together and weave those together to make a very, very efficient marketing strategy. So an example of that might be like using an existing email list to point to, say like an email, like an ebook, and then everyone who downloads that ebook gets added to an audience in Facebook ads and then retargeted, and then from that audience we have another set of ads that has a call to action to buy something. So weaving all these different parts of the business together, basically just to maximize whatever resources we have, because startups don't have much resources, and it's more a game of like how creative, how scrappy can we get, than it is like, should we buy this billboard or should we buy this TV media buy.
So when you say scrapping email addresses off the web, how do you do that?
Well, for scraping emails, I mean, most companies. Yeah, I mean,
sorry.
I'll actually go into this a little bit when we talk about lead capture and list building. I posted to the NGS group asking you guys what you wanted to talk about today, and the highest ranking poll item was list building and lead generation. So I can actually jump right into that if you would like, Haley.
Yeah, that sounds great. And anyone who's watching right now, feel free to ask a question anytime by commenting, and we'll get to it. And I know Jonathan wants to answer as many questions as possible, so don't be shy.
Definitely. So for those who are watching, I want to make this high impact and high value for you. So if there's a particular objective that you have in mind or some challenge that you're facing with your business, please post it. I'll make sure to answer it the best that I can. If not, I'll recircle back with Kale, my partner, and we'll get you the answers.
Awesome.
All right, so when we're talking about list building, there's all kinds of use for a list. A list is basically just the name of a list is just a list of names of people that you want to target. For our own business, for K&J, and for we have two branch off businesses, one that handles mobility companies like handicap access, and then we have one that does dentistry. And those niches we do outreach, and so we build lists of customers to call, their prospects that we could potentially have as customers, and then we have our teams outreaching to them, and then they go into a sales process. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we basically can make our lead generation like a dial that we can turn up. My business coach likes to use the term, most businesses are like a sailboat. And right now we're going to be talking in the context of business to business. If you guys want to talk about consumers, let me know. But when you're talking about list building and lead generation, that's typically for business to business, like service companies that are doing, either marketing or some other service. Okay.
Sorry, I think there's an ambulance behind me.
It's all good. It's what happens when you live in the city. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think that lead generation was the most painstaking and impossible thing. Outbound sales wasn't even a question. There's no way I would do it. And I think a lot of people share that notion, and it's a very scary job to do. It's very scary to pick up the phone and call somebody who's not only not expecting your call, but doesn't want your call, and to convince them to go from like that far below zero all the way to getting them to purchase something that costs $2,200 a month. So like I mentioned, my business coach likes to refer to it as the sailboat versus the speedboat. A sailboat is kind of floating along as the wind comes, as the clients come in, you just kind of take them and you work off of referrals and maybe repeat business. Whereas a speedboat has a throttle that you can turn up and you can go faster as you please, and you have an engine that's propelling it forward in a very clear direction. And that's the difference between a business that has a great targeting list and a set of leads to reach out to versus a company that doesn't. A company that doesn't, like I said, is depending on referrals, like homie hookups, like friends being like, hey, like maybe you should, check out my buddy's marketing company. And of course, there's all these associations that come with being a marketing company or a software development company. And so it's just, you have a lot less control of the quality of clients when you're working on inbound, when you're working on people being referred to you. For example, the last few leads that came into K&J, one was a property development company in Pakistan One was a meditation app. One was a company that makes candles in Chicago. And then another one was like a company that owns 2 restaurants in Belgium. So there's like no consistency between the clients, which makes it really hard to get consistent performance between them because you just have to get to know a new industry every time. So the benefit of building a list and having a very targeted group of people you're talking to is that you have full control. You're deciding who to talk to, you're qualifying those customers, you're making sure that they're a good fit for you before you go and waste 30 minutes on the phone with them. And trust me, 30 minutes on the phone with a bad prospect is a waste of time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, so I'm gonna. That's kind of the problem. The problem is that businesses need more leads, they need more sales, and they need consistency because otherwise your business is like up and down and up and down, and it's stressful, which makes being an entrepreneur not fun, and it kind of kills the whole point of being an entrepreneur. So the problem is that we don't have consistency, we don't have good clients, we're not handpicking our clients, we're just going from a pool of people who might be interested in us or might just be, feeling the waters. So now I'm going to jump into some of the tactics about how to hack a huge list of leads and to have inbound meetings hitting your calendar every day to the point where you can't even handle all the meetings, and then closing them with consistency. But before I do that, are there any other questions or areas that you wanted me to address from the audience or Haley before we dive in?
Let's wait for comments. Maybe most of the questions will come after you share your wisdom.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I know that there's going to be questions about how to execute these tactics and stuff. And another partner of mine, Matt Cohn, and I, who runs Different Hunger, we are in the middle of releasing an information product and community specifically around growth hacking, where we're going to share all the practices, all of the templates that we've used to make K&J successful, as well as the stuff that I used when I was a consultant. So to these Fortune 50 companies, it's very valuable stuff, but now I can finally apply it to a bigger audience as opposed to just my clients, because oftentimes the clients aren't open-minded about new strategies. So if any of you guys are interested in that after the call, do let me know. I see a question coming in from Justin, and that was about work-life balance.
John, where do you draw the work-life balance line? I think that is a good question, especially if the growth hacking is so successful that your calendar is completely full and it's all work all the time.
So I'm a huge proponent of work-life balance, and I'm also not very good at it. The first thing is that I meditate every single day. I go to the gym 3-4 times a week. I eat pretty healthy. These are habits that I've built over, say, like the last 5 years. And still, I was working like 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, especially running 2 companies. It's totally easy to get immersed in your own work. And I'll talk about some strategies for removing yourself from work so that your team can take over your stuff and so you're not so stressed out. But I think that you should be, the work-life balance should be at least 60% in enjoyment and then 40% in work. The balance should always be skewed toward living. And if you feel like you're working too much, you probably are. So that requires, and this is one of the biggest challenges we face as entrepreneurs, is setting those boundaries. It's very hard for us to, I use the example like, if you can have your team take care of it on Wednesday, it's Monday, or you can take care of it yourself now, but you have to get down into the weeds, which one are you going to choose? Well, the CEO would choose to wait until Wednesday and just make the client wait. But a lot of us entrepreneurs would just dig in on Monday and do it ourselves. But when you dig into something, say it's like a URL issue is what I'm dealing with right now in my business, then like there can be all kinds of things that happen technically that would keep you immersed in that up until Wednesday, get you back in the dirty work again, and just really kill your work-life balance. So it's a mindset shift to only doing stuff that is high dollar work. So if you can pay somebody $7 an hour from Upwork to do it, as opposed to spending your afternoon doing it, and say you value yourself at $50 to $100 per hour, that's $350 versus, $10 or $20. So anything, I think a good rule of thumb, Justin, is anything that is either frustrating to do or is deeply technical should be given to somebody who is better at it than yourself. And so that's my new benchmark. Anytime somebody is better, or I'm not that great at a task, I'll just give it to somebody who's better at it.
That's awesome. We have another question coming in if we want to look at this now before we move forward. It's from Kale.
Yeah,
How do you manage working with people from different countries and managing your workflow with them? What tools do you use specifically?
Awesome. Kale, thanks for asking that. Our team is distributed. That is so that we can all live and work from anywhere that we want and work the hours that we want. Of course, we have to be there for each other, but we have become very accustomed to working with people who are overseas because there's just a lot of benefits to it. One is, of course, that you don't have to do the work yourself, right? Another is that platforms like Upwork have very high accountability. They record the screen of somebody when they're working, so you know that they're actually working on your task. And of course, you go to other economies and the dollar goes much further, anywhere from 2 to 5 times as far. So for myself, I use Upwork to hire people. Upwork is a pretty reliable platform for hiring help overseas. I use Slack to communicate with them so we can talk in real time. And we use Trello for project management. Great way to be able to check in on which tasks are being worked on by who, and to comment and to set deadlines and things like that.
Put them up on the screen.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say Upwork is probably my favorite tool I've been working with lately.
It seems that you're an efficiency hacker in addition to being a growth hacker.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
I think the two definitely go like hand in hand. And I'll talk a little bit about getting work off your plate, but hacking your own workload goes right hand in hand with hacking your marketing.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, why don't we dive into lead capture, since I know that's what everybody wanted to hear about.
Definitely. And I saw another question come in, Dylan. We'll get that answered after this segment. But I do want to get some of these tactics laid out on the table so people can write them down and start applying them. I'm just going to jump right in. And Haley, how much time do we have? What's our stopping point?
I'd say we have another 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. All right, so this shouldn't take super long. But, all right, so the way to generate a consistent, scalable, and dependable source of leads in business is this. It's actually very, very simple. It's a little bit counterintuitive, which is why I hadn't done it at first, but I had watched some of my friends do it, and it worked extremely well. So the first step is you're going to build a list. The second step is you're going to have a cold caller, like an outreach person, call the names on the list. Third step is you're going to put those meetings on your calendar. And the fourth step is you're going to take the meetings and close them.
Okay.
It's
4 steps.
Really as simple as that.
So maybe we can bring in Dylan's question when we go to the cold caller. So is it somebody who you've hired in-house? Or do you outsource the people to cold call? Or is it you that sometimes comes in with a cold call if you think that someone on your list, should hear from you and have your energy?
So my cold caller costs $12 an hour. So if you do the math, there's no way that I would be doing that. My cold caller is outsourced. He's in Philippines, and I love him. He loves me. We're best friends. Yeah, he's really good. And people might be scared. Okay, so I'm going to go over a couple of the counterintuitive points here real quick. But just to recap, the 3 steps are build a list, have a cold caller, and then set the meetings on your calendar. Have the cold caller set the meetings.
Okay.
And of course, the sales after that. But anytime you're in the business of sales, you're going to want to have a sales process, which we do have templates for that we can share. Just let me know after the call. My sales process, I believe, is like 7 steps, 6 steps, something like that. And it's followed every time. Once you have it there, it's very easy. It makes a lot of sense. Very natural. So to build a list, first I hired a virtual assistant. I had my intern doing it at $12 an hour. and it costed me $700 to get 650 leads.
Wow.
By the way, I was targeting a specific niche, handicap companies, companies that install wheelchair ramps. So I had my intern build the list, and it was getting a little expensive, $700. $1 per name is actually about normal, but I knew I could do it cheaper. So I ended up hiring somebody at $5 an hour, and she's in Colombia. And she basically, I wrote a process, a step-by-step checklist of how to collect leads, like how to get the names. And she will go to a manufacturer's website, look up all the dealers in the area, and then go to the dealer's websites, or sorry, the installer's websites, the companies that install these wheelchair ramps, and then run hunter.io on their webpage. Hunter.io captures the emails, all the emails that are living on that webpage. Capture the name, the email, owner name, location, things like that, put them into the list. Another email capture tool you can use is Email Extractor. They're both plugins for Google Chrome. For becoming a hacker.
Awesome.
that answers your question from earlier. How do you scrape the web for email addresses? There's other ways to just run a bot that scrapes thousands of websites at a time, but we're not going to get into that now because it's super technical.
Gotcha.
All right, so you have your list builder, build the list. Like I said, you can go on Upwork. You can pay somebody $5 an hour. I just hired an agency that does it for $3 an hour. So now my list building, I need to get my list to 2,000 names. Right now I have 750 names, so I'm going to have them building the list up until they get to 2,000, because I know 2,000 with a 10% conversion to meeting and a 10% close rate, I will hit my revenue goals. And that's why I set the number of 2,000. So you do need to have some sales objectives in mind before you set these actual strategies out, so you know exactly how much work you need to do. And that's another touch point on setting boundaries for yourself.
I wanted to add a quick question of my own. So for someone who's bootstrapping, in addition to having these goals, you also need to have a substantial amount of upfront capital to hire, even though you're outsourcing, so it's relatively cheaper.
Sure.
So what is your best advice for somebody who may just be starting out and they don't necessarily have the capital to invest in even outsourcing, so they really only have their own time, especially if they're trying to, maintain that work-life balance?
Sure. Well, I will say that I'm pretty sure everyone, if my cold calling agency is $3 an hour, pretty sure everyone has or can scrape together $300 either by borrowing it from their friends or their family to build that list. If you really can't scrape together a few $100s to build your own list from past clients, one, you can go close some new clients, but two, you could just build a list yourself. I assembled my first few names. I learned how to do it, wrote it into a process, and gave it to my team to do. But if you're like a college student and you got more time than you have money, build the list yourself.
Yeah.
I think it took my team about 2 weeks to put together a list of 600 names. I'm sure they could do it faster. I think it was like 12 hours of work to do.
Okay.
But, I mean, theoretically, that could be done in 2 days. So you got to have a list. You got to have a list of people who are customers that you know that you want to get business from. So that might be that you are looking to get business from, the first segment that I targeted was startups. So I was going to accelerators and finding all of the startups within each accelerator. That's one way to do it. I definitely recommend having a niche. Mine is now the handicap companies that I'm servicing. Kale's is dentists. So find a niche that you can drive hyper value in. If you've done service for that kind of company in the past, you know if you can drive a lot of value for them. But you're going to want to have that list be targeted. Don't just make it some generic list of, say, all construction companies, because that's just going to be way too many, and it's going to be way too diluted of a list, not targeted.
That's great advice.
So once you have the names...
Sorry. You broke up. Do one more time.
Okay. Once you have the name of lists...
So we had a...
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all good. We got time.
Yeah, you're breaking up, so I'm not sure what you said. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That came in from Rachel Strauss. that I think is relevant here, especially when you're having a whole team work on a big list like this. So, how do you maintain a highly engaged, motivated, empowered, and efficient virtual team despite cultural and geographic barriers?
It's a great question. Frankly, I'm not the best at corporate culture. I should be better at it because I'm a people person and I really love having good relationships with people. I find that the ways that my team is very motivated right now, I would say. I don't do a lot from, like, I share team wins in the Slack. I will highlight people when they do super well. I always try to show my appreciation. I say I appreciate you when they're working on tasks, and of course I give bonuses when they're due. But Rachel brought up a good point. You're working across borders, and most people would think that that's a challenge. I think the biggest challenge you're going to deal with working across borders is the language barrier. In terms of the cultural differences, I've taken a very strong liking to Indian and Mexican culture because of my experience working with them. They're two groups of people that I really like to work with. But I think if you're respectful and you're giving them very clear orders and very interactive help, then they will appreciate you very much because you're paying them more than they will get in their local country. So there's a hugely mutually beneficial relationship waiting to happen there. But definitely at the core of all of it, the reason any employee relationships have not worked out in the past or partner relationships have not worked out in the past is communication. So you got to be ongoing. You can't try not to have more than a day between interactions and communications.
Awesome. Great answer.
Okay.
So, do we want to move on to growing an Instagram audience? I know that's another on the poll that a lot of people express interest in.
Sure.
Go through that really quickly. Yeah.
Haley, if you're okay with it, I'm just going to tie off the list building strategy real quick because there was
absolutely. Sure.
two more small points I wanted to cover. So there's a little bit of a psychological switch that has to happen to the point where you're having somebody else do your work for you. It's very counterintuitive. It's very hard to let go of your own work, especially if you can do it better than the person you're training. But you have to be okay with that. And that letting go process is an extremely strong character building, in my experience. So, it's going to be tempting to call those names on the list yourself. Don't do it. Download a calling script. Download a cold calling script. Mine is a qualification script. It makes sure that these companies are big enough that they can work with us, that they can afford our services. So we ask them questions like, how many installs do you do per week? How many new installs could you handle starting the beginning of December? What's your monthly revenue? What do your profit margins look like? And we ask them all these questions, but I have Alex, my cold caller, do that. And then if they answer yes to the correct questions, then he'll book a meeting with them.
Awesome.
We're getting about 10% conversion rate from our list building to actually meetings. So for every 100 people we call, we get 10 meetings out of it.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what the benchmark is there, but when you have 700 names, that means you're going to get 70 meetings. So 70 meetings, you should be able to close some of those.
I think.
So. Yeah, we took 50 meetings and we
Awesome.
closed 5 of them, so we got a 10% close rate on our inbound leads. All right, so the last part is have your cold caller call them. Like I said, my cold caller is $12 an hour. You can get them for anywhere from $5 to $12 per hour, or you can buy somebody local who's going to be like 30 to 50 an hour. And then at the end, take the sales calls. Set up Calendly. Make it so it's easy to book meetings on your calendar. Block off the times that you want to take sales calls, and they will start rolling in.
Awesome.
We had so many meetings on our calendar in the middle of the summer that I had to tell my cold caller to stop calling because we were going through a
Wow.
So
That's how you know.
Yeah, I took a 3-week break off of doing sales work just to take in all the new clients that we got and to smooth things out.
That's great. That's great.
All right, should we jump into Instagram?
Sure.
All right, so Instagram's an interesting place, mainly because, one, it's still on fire, but I think, in my humble opinion, I think it's kind of lost some of its charm for a lot of us marketers because they're forcing companies to create business accounts. They're kind of pushing influencers out of the picture because they want to make ad revenue on that, and it's just become a bit challenging to do marketing there. But again, it's still the most engaged, still the most popular platform today. So I'll go over some strategies and tactics and some red flags, I would say. So before we jump in, I think the most important thing to know is that Instagram is very good at understanding behavior on accounts, right? So if you are doing anything shady on your account, they're not going to send you a notification, or they might, but they have a lot of tools in place that will either kill your engagement or block you from certain hashtags. Some call it shadow banning. So there's things like that. So you do kind of have to play by their rules. That said, there is ways to bend the rules there. So growing an audience on Instagram, I think across the board, if you're not committed to growing it organically, I don't think you should be in it in the first place. If you just want to like hack it and get to 100,000 followers just so you have 100,000 followers and say 2,000, 3,000 likes per picture, you're in it for the wrong reasons, because if you have to fabricate that, it's not going to be real engagement, and you end up spending a lot of time on it, but you're not getting as many results. So the top level strategy is definitely going to be grow it organically. The best way to grow it organically is to find accounts either that are similar size to you. So if you have 10,000 followers, you can ask other 10K accounts to do shout outs on the story. It's much easier to get shout outs on somebody else's story, and you just trade a shout out for a shout out, or you can trade a post for a post. And that's the way Instagram favors account growth. You'll grow fast, you'll grow large, your engagement will stay high because these people are intentfully going and following you after they've seen a post about your account.
Awesome.
There are automation softwares for growing your account faster. They range from being very aggressive to being pretty moderate, and those automation accounts will basically follow a bunch of users and then unfollow the ones that don't follow you back. So you can grow your audience very quickly that way. The problem is Instagram knows a lot of those softwares, and if they see your account growing too fast, they can penalize you for it. That said, you can just slow your automation down and you won't have any problems. So that's another one of those. Do it within reason, do it smart, and you can automate the account and grow it fast that way.
And what are some names of those automation accounts for people who are watching?
There are all kinds of softwares for it. There's just like regular bots out there, but you could use Social Envy. There's Mass Planner. Actually, I'm not sure if Mass Planner is still in business, but I mean, really, I would just Google Instagram growth software or Instagram growth service. Okay.
Awesome.
And so, on that note, there are other ways that you can drive engagement. If your engagement, say you gave into Instagram's pressure and you converted your page to a business account, and now your engagement is shit. There are ways around that. I mean, you can fabricate the engagement by buying likes, of course, but of course, that's Instagram knows that. They know when fake accounts are using and liking and following. So that's part of the trouble. But there are what are called engagement groups where you can join, or comment pods is the old name for them. But engagement groups are groups where people with a certain number of followers can join. So I have an account that has 98,000 followers. So we're allowed to join any group with 80,000 followers and up. And then we have our virtual assistant go in there, post our new post to the engagement group, and then everyone in that engagement group will like and comment. People with large accounts, 80K and more followers, will comment on our pictures, and then when you're getting a lot of engagement from high follower accounts, it drives your organic reach in the discover section of Instagram. So you're more likely to show up when somebody hits the search button on Instagram. And it's completely organic, completely ethical way to grow the accounts. It really drives engagement. It's just time consuming. So that's why I recommend having a virtual assistant do it for you after you've done it yourself a couple times.
Do we have any other questions on Instagram? Anyone who's watching? Maybe one of my questions could be, what's the best way to use hashtags in a strategic manner without the risk of getting shadow banned?
I would say just use it in an organic way. I've never had any of my accounts shadow banned, and I've run accounts for probably like 20 different clients.
Oh.
But don't use the same hashtags over and over. Use a maximum of 7 hashtags per post, and use hashtags that are related to the picture that you're doing. So don't copy and paste your hashtags every time. If you do want to copy and paste hashtags, have a group in your notes in your iPhone that are different hashtags for different types of posts. So if you're doing travel and you're taking a picture in front of the Eiffel Tower, of course you put Paris and you put, what I wore today or whatever it is that you post. But you're not going to put like food blogger, things like that. Because if you do too many of those posts and Instagram sees that you're using the same hashtag over and over in a lot of posts, it will shadow ban you. And Kayla and I, sorry, I'm a little under the weather. Kayla and I do have a tool for checking Instagram shadow bans. So if you all are interested in us helping check to see if your account has been banned, just shoot us a note.
Smart. Awesome. Cool. So I think one other popular one on the poll was hacking press. So that may be a good one to finish out with, unless there's more you want to say on either Instagram or other growth hacking techniques other than hacking press.
Yeah, I know we've been powering through information. Like I said, if you all are interested to hear more, just let me know, and I'll hook you up with resources, templates, any of the best practices that we've done, and we can continue the conversation offline. But in terms of hacking the press, Kale is really the expert here, my business partner, who I look up to a lot because he's the one who got us published in Inc. magazine. He helped me get published in Forbes. He's written for Men's Health, Huffington Post, Boss Babe, Influencer, Pursuit, Founder. So he's really the expert, but he's the one who helped me up my press game, which is what got us a huge launch. We had Inc. cover our company upon our launch date. We weren't even in business, and they covered us. So that's a pretty magnificent feat on his part. So I'm going to steal from his book a little bit here, and also Ryan Holiday's. If any of you guys can get your hands on the book, Trust Me, I'm Lying, that is the best press hacking strategy book there is. And it's off the shelves now because it's so badass. But if you can find it, I have a hard copy of it. Come to my event on November 17th and you can read it. We're doing NGS meetup in Philly, guys. Don't miss it. So, yeah. The starting point is to, this wasn't covered in the book, but this is a strategy that I used that I got a lot of success from, was one, become a writer for the publications that you read. If you're reading Mashable every day, or if you're reading, say, Founder Magazine every day, and you love the content, and you're passionate about it, let them know. Email the editors, get an intro to the editors. In my case, I'm big into meditation, fitness, yoga, things like that, so I started writing for Mind Body Green, which is one of the bigger wellness blogs. It's actually mostly for women, but they're in my target audience for VIA. So I started writing for them. I got an intro to them through my buddy Matt, and it wasn't even hard at all. I just told them I wrote for a few other publications, and they were like, "Yeah, sure, come on as a writer. Send us your first article. Let's see what you got." And that basically happens over and over. You'll notice that they want content. They want influencers to share content with their networks. They want me to promote out to my social channels, especially, with a lot of Instagram followers, big email lists, things like that. So they're always looking for new writers. So you become a contributor. Oftentimes you'll get access to their backend platform where you can submit your posts yourself. I currently write for 5 publications: Founder Magazine, Mind Body Green, Pursuit, Influensive, and Thrive Global, which is Ariana Huffington's new platform. And yeah, I mean, it's huge leverage going into conversations with other people in press. Now, there is an ethical question that you have to answer, and you have to abide by based on your own ethics. But you should not be taking payment for writing press stories. You should be only writing stuff that you think is high quality content. That being said, by being in the writing community, you will have a lot of connections to other writers. You can join Slack groups for writers where there will be a lot of authors in one place. So you'll meet people from Forbes, from Fortune, from, all kinds of different publications. Like I just met somebody from Men's Health who offered to let me write for them. Unfortunately, you have to be a certified trainer, and I'm not a certified trainer, so I couldn't do it. but you get those opportunities come to you all the time. And that's how you ratchet up from your personal blog to a small blog to a medium blog. You just write for yourself, and then you write for somebody else, share that with them, and then you ratchet up press outlet to press outlet until you're at your target press outlet. With Mind Body Green, it was and is still our biggest source of downloads for VIA. We get anywhere from 500 to 2,000 downloads per article that I share there, which is just mind-blowing. I mean, that would cost, if you were to do that kind of advertising on Facebook, it would cost you between $8,000 and $10,000. And I write a story in an afternoon, publish it, and it gets me the same return. So hacking the press, hugely valuable, reach hundreds of thousands of people at the same time, and only write one article. Extremely leveraged if you're using it for the right outlets.
That's
All right,
great.
that's hacking the press, people.
Amazing advice. Awesome. We got a little compliment coming through. You are the man.
Shub him. He's an awesome guy. He is a hustler. We should have him do a Q&A sometime.
Okay. Well, this has been awesome and so informative. I learned a lot. I told you before we started, I don't really understand growth hacking. So now I feel like I'm equipped with all the know-how. Maybe just see if we have any other questions before we wrap it up here. Or Jonathan, if you feel like there's anything you need to say to tie it all together.
Well, I just, like I said at the beginning, Matt Cohn and I just released a growth hacking accelerator, which has all of the templates, all of the best practices, just a bunch of swipe documents that you can take and apply to your business. We've written out all kinds of frameworks for growing companies rapidly. So if any of you guys are interested in joining the accelerator beta, do let me know. The link is differenthunger.com/GHA for growth hacking accelerator.
/GHA.
Yeah. And we are going to be documenting the process of that product launch for its own growth hacking experience, which is kind of meta, which I'm pretty pumped about, and how we're going to hit 100,000 in sales with that. We're documenting every step of the way. So you guys can follow our story on that as we share it.
Well, thank you. This was awesome.
Boom.
And I'll encourage anyone else, fist bump right back at you. Anyone else who has questions, comment below, and Jonathan will be keeping up with that, as will I. So this has been great. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for hosting, Haley. We really appreciate you and everything you do for NGS, and of course the guys, Justin and Dylan, with much love.
Bye, John.
All right, have a good one. See ya.